Welcome to Booking It to Financial Freedom, show number 7.
We want to be able to create the life that we choose, that we want to have. This is how we want life to be. This is how we're going to choose, to have our life. That's the main why.
Maybe you're staying up later than you want to and getting less sleep than you want to, but you truly are able to, because of your why and knowing what you want in the future, you're able to prioritize all of those tasks.
We're just very intentional with our time. Multitasking is a thing, right? You can eat and talk at the same time. But multi-focusing is not a thing. Like, you can't be dialed in and focused on two things at the same time. Definitely a learned skill is how to say no.
Welcome to Booking It to Financial Freedom, where we explore literature from some of the most successful experts in their field to help you build a blueprint for personal growth and financial freedom. Join us as we examine a new book every month and break down key concepts to help you get out of the rat race and on track to start building a life better than you ever imagined.
Hey everyone, I'm Amanda Schneider, realtor and investor, and I'm here with my guest co-host and husband, Lindsay Maringer. Hey Lindsay.
Hey babe, it's a pleasure to be here today. How are you? Good.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's always a pleasure to be on the podcast and help you however I can. And today is exciting. I've voiced on the other podcasts that I've been on how much I've been working on my why. And, through the first book, we try to tie it into mindset shift. This book is trying to help your listeners really find their why. I've voiced multiple times how it can be difficult, and even mine is ever changing. We're really fortunate today. We have a successful husband and wife duo that have grown in a few short years to, from nothing to, I think, over 40 units now. And we happen to know them. They're friends of ours, and I'm excited to hear how they use their why in their interactions with contractors, the evolving nature that can be, and then personal relationships too. You got to have that balance of personal and professional, and it's interesting to see how your why can apply to both and success in both. So I'm really excited for Bostyn and Logan to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to read their bio. Bostyn and Logan Brodine are a dynamic real estate duo. I added that in. That have been married for 10 years and have 2 adorable children. While they have always been mindful of spending and budget, their interest in personal finance really began 7 years ago. As their focus grew, so did their quest for financial freedom, which led them down the path of real estate investing thanks to Bostyn's sister Bree. They have been actively investing since 2020 and have grown their portfolio to over 40 units and manage over 120 units. They invest in both the single-family and multifamily spaces in both Nebraska and Pennsylvania, and they do all of this while both working full-time W-2 jobs. Pretty amazing.
It is.
Yeah, let's go ahead and bring on Bostyn and Logan.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Bostyn and Logan, welcome to the show. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Let's just start by you guys kind of telling us a little bit about yourselves and kind of your investment portfolio, what that looks like.
Sure. So in terms of actual real estate investing, we've started a couple years ago, and over that 2 to 3 year time period, we've gone from a triplex partner deal to over 40 units.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that. And you guys both still work your W-2 jobs, correct? Yep. Okay, well, we're going to get into that, kind of how you guys have time for everything, because I'm pretty sure that you slow time down every day to get things done. But
Trying.
Yeah. In the bio that I read, you mentioned that about 7 years ago is when you really got interested in personal finance. So can you kind of tell me what was that trigger 7 years ago that kind of got you guys interested in that?
Yeah, and I'll let Logan kind of start with that because he was the one that really brought it into the relationship.
Yeah, it's it dates back to my first big boy job when they gave me a 401k, and I was like, I don't know what this is. And so I actually started down the path of Ramit Sethi. I think I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Hopefully I
didn't butcher it.
Yeah, hopefully I was close. So I read his stuff. He's got a lot of great stuff out there. Follow him on social media.
Oh yeah, this is the guy that for the next coming book. Is that what you're talking about? That guy?
I will teach you to be rich.
Yeah, that's actually our next book. So that's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
No wonder that sounded familiar.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I absolutely loved his stuff.
Yeah.
He started implementing it right away. He kept it simple. He kept it streamlined. Yes. And then from there, I've read a little bit of Dave Ramsey's stuff, and then from there into Kiyosaki. So that was kind of my natural progression. And then I kept everything in index funds. I kept everything simple, like nothing too manageable on my end. So my day-to-day, and I automated everything.
Yeah.
So it just automatically deposited. And then that's kind of how we did it right away in our marriage as well. Like we kept it that way for quite a long time, actually.
Yeah, we were really focused on budget. And I would say when we started to think about having kids, we looked at, okay, we've got these debts, or this is how much we want to have saved up in order to have the kid, our first kid. And that aligned fairly well with timing. But yeah, really budget focused, save, invest, put as much way, as we can. I think also that was a time where we kind of stopped and thought like, okay, can we make more money in our current jobs? Because I was teaching then. And so I had gotten out of teaching into, a different career field altogether, and was able to, have like a small increase. And that opened the door to, a lot of other things.
Yeah. So then where was that kind of switch from, okay, personal finance, we're budgeting, we're watching everything that we have coming in, we're saving, to I actually want to build a path towards financial freedom?
Great question. Logan approached me like, hey, my sister Bree, she had, she's been investing in real estate for like about 5 years now. And she had just taken a primary resident, turned it into a rental property when she had moved out of state. And I think that's when she had approached Logan like, hey, this is kind of what I'm doing. Is this something you guys might be interested in? I gave Logan yep, go ahead. I don't want anything to do with it. So, you can absolutely, I'll support you, but, I'm going to just kind of not participate.
Yeah. Which is hilarious because you are both super involved in it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
So I started off doing a lot of the operations, plugging stuff into Stessa. I shouldn't say operations, bookkeeping. I started doing a lot of the bookkeeping, not operations. I was doing bookkeeping, plugging stuff into Stessa, tracking just day-to-day bookkeeping tasks in the real estate portfolio. And then from there, we learned about like how to utilize a HELOC. And how you can utilize that towards real estate investing. And once we learned more about that, that really started to skyrocket our investments.
Yeah. Do you kind of want to explain, just for people that don't know what a HELOC is and what you guys did with it?
Sure. So a HELOC is a home equity line of credit, and it's going to be the difference between what your mortgage is and then the value of your house. And usually lenders, will still cap it at 80%, but whatever that difference is, what your equity is, I guess up to 80% combined with your mortgage, is a line of credit that you can have available. And if you use it, you pay interest on the amount that's out. And then, you pay it back over time. And every lender is different. So caveat, talk with your lender about HELOCs. And what's interesting is some of the recent tax changes and, maybe 2017 kind of time frame actually allows the interest of your HELOC, if used for real estate, to be a tax deduction. Again, you'd want to talk with your CPA about that. But little bonus that we had learned later on in the process. So
Nice.
we, our house that we purchased back in 2015.
Christmas 2014.
2014?
2015, yeah.
It was worth we purchased it for $284, and it appraised or was valued at like $700,000. So we had a sizable HELOC to work with, and that was a huge catalyst for being able to acquire the properties that we have acquired since then.
Awesome. And so that's kind of how you originally grew your portfolio, because Lindsay and I have known you guys for a while, and just full disclosure, we actually all own a property together, but that was kind of in the beginning of your investing. And now you have far surpassed how many properties we have, and you guys have just keep going. So it's very impressive to how you've gotten there. Can you talk about some other ways that you've funded those deals besides HELOCs?
Well, the partner deal that you mentioned, that was taken out of our savings account. So, that was, that 6-month, emergency fund. We were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's see what happens. So that's where that one came from. And then we learned about the HELOC. So
nice.
Go ahead.
Oh, we use private money,
Okay.
private lenders or hard money lenders. So we've used both in deals, and then we've been successfully able to burr out of each deal.
Sweet. And if you guys just want to quickly explain those, hopefully, people that listen to this also listen to Bigger Pockets. But if they don't, I want to make sure they understand what we're talking about. So maybe talk about the difference between hard money and private money.
So hard money is going to be a typical hard money lender. So that lender in general is going to work similar to a private lender, but they're going to have different stipulations on inspections and draws and when you refinance and how long you have until you can refinance. With private money lenders, you have a little bit more control over how much interest they're receiving, and then you have a little bit more control on how long until you pay them back. So that gives you a little bit more a little
leeway, maybe.
I don't know about like leeway as much as once you learn how long it takes to, I don't want to say flip, but kind of like flip the property to get it to where you want it rentable.
Sure.
If you know that typically takes 1 year, or if it typically takes X amount of months, like you know that, and then you know how long it's going to take to refinance out and then get your private money lenders their money back plus their interest.
Sure. And correct me if I'm wrong, because you guys have done this more than me, but hard money lenders are usually going to be like a company. Like that's what they do is do that money. Where private lenders can be anyone. It can be your parents. It can be your sister. It can be anyone that you just agree to terms to borrow money. And Lindsay and I have done that with my mom when my stepdad passed and she sold the house. She had a lot of extra cash that wasn't doing anything for her. So we've borrowed money on private money terms. So
yeah, and I think it's an interesting mindset to get into with private money, because at the end of the day, if what you're offering them as a return on their money is much higher than they're going to receive in a savings account.
Yes.
And right now the stock market, but it's going to be much higher than what they receive in their savings account. So if they have money that they're not going to use, like they need to not need it, right? Just like an investment.
Yep.
But if they have that, you're actually helping them at the same time, because they're now becoming passive investors.
Yes.
And you're teaching them how to become a passive investor. And then that money is leveraged against one of our current cash flowing properties already. So that way, like there's actual like legal documentation that they will receive their money back. And
or they get a property.
Yeah, right. And it's leveraged against something. Whereas if you're in the stock market, you're leveraged against nothing.
Exactly.
If that sucker goes down, you have there's no guarantee. Whereas you can guarantee things in real estate.
I love that too, because, we might have to have you guys back on sometime to talk about some like creative financing and things you've done, because I don't want to take the whole podcast, which we could. But since we are reading, Start With Why, is that can kind of play into a lot of your why too, which we'll get to, but is helping to educate people on these different investments and helping them to make money if maybe, buying a property by themselves seems to be a little too, much for them to handle, but is helping others as well. So
absolutely. Yeah. Because, we were brought into real estate investing by family who that family member wanted to help us out and, kind of shed some light on other opportunities that are out there. And we want to do the same, and it's going to look different for every person.
Right.
But just to let people know, like, hey, you don't actually have to go buy a property in order to be an investor in real estate. You can private lend, you can do syndications, which is lending in a more formal and, in more large deals. So lots of options out there.
Awesome. And then something else you had mentioned was BRRRR. Do you kind of want to explain that too, how that works, a BRRRR deal?
Oh, it is. I can't. I'm trying to remember what all the R's.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what all the R's stand for. But basically, I'll let
Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat.
There you go.
Everybody
From the top rope.
So we've actually been successful in BRRRing out of a lot of properties, and a lot of people, when they BRRRR, they instantly think they're going to get all of their money back or all of their money back and then some. We've left money in deals, actually frequently, and people will pass on deals because they only want those home run deals when they refinance out of
all
them.
The money, yeah.
Whereas right now, if you got to leave $5-10 grand in, you still got a house for $5 to $10 grand. It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. It's in your equity.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then hopefully you can refinance 2 or 3 years later and get all of that plus some out of that deal. So, we've had a lot of success with burring, and we've had a lot of lessons learned too along the way, just like everybody on this journey has. We've had success in tertiary markets. So, I mean, a lot of people hear of Denver, a lot of people hear of Austin, a lot of people hear of like Atlanta, but finding those smaller towns and the smaller markets that still have growth and that still have appreciation, you can do very well in there because there's not as many competitors.
Yeah, that's awesome. And because you guys mainly invest in Pennsylvania, small town Pennsylvania. Is it Allentown? Is that right? Or what's?
Yeah, we've got some in Allentown, some in some like neighboring areas,
Which is a college town, which I think helps. But then also Nebraska, because Logan and I are both from Nebraska. But you guys have just recently, in the last, year or two, started investing in Nebraska as well.
Yeah, we'll be coming up to just 1 year in that market. And it just to tie it back with like, what's our why? I think as you even look as to why are you investing in real estate, we could absolutely go do different areas, right? More hot spots, if you will. They've got nice housing there already for the most part. The areas that we're in, the people that live there, the community that's there, like they appreciate having some nicer places to live, updated looking floors and lighting, but also just a clean place, a well-managed place. So giving, the community opportunity to have some, just a safe place to be in.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I love that. Have you guys given a thought to kind of what your overarching why is of, why you invest and why you have a drive towards financial freedom?
Yeah, we've been kicking this one back and forth. Yeah. I'd say for where we're at with what we've learned over the last, 3 years, really, 7 years, we want to be able to create the life that we choose, that we want to have. Now, if you're like, oh, what is that? We're still figuring some of that out. And with like 2 kids that are like getting school aged, that's going to change. But just to have the opportunity to say, okay, this is how we want life to be. This is how we're going to choose, to have our life. That's the main why.
Yeah, I love that. So you don't want to have to, always go to your W-2 jobs. You want to have the freedom to be able to maybe not have those eventually down the line, or decide when you're going to take vacations. If you want to take the kids out of school and homeschool them for 2 months and live in Europe or whatever, you can have that choice.
Yeah. Or just walk the kids to school because you don't have to rush to be in the office for a meeting, and that doesn't mean W-2 is not in the playbook. It just, the ability to think, does this align with our values? Does it align with our beliefs? Does this opportunity give us that freedom in the way, the ability to choose what we want to do, is really what we're focusing on.
Yeah. Awesome. How would you say that kind of your why and your values have aided you in finding the real estate properties that you guys have found, or the private money lenders, or the people that you've brought onto your syndication, because you guys do run a syndication? How has kind of all of that played into how you find those deals and the people? Yeah, it was kind of a tough question, but
I mean, it is, but it isn't, right? So like, if you look at like when we first got into real estate, looking at the properties and then seeing a property that's completely run down and then fixing it up, and then a nice family, like a fireman, a cop, like somebody who's like gives back to the community, now has a nice place to live.
Yes.
Right. And then you can slowly, if you can acquire the property next to it and do the same thing, and then before you know it, you've started to actually change how the community even is.
Right.
And you can make it a nice place to live in a nice community, and really kind of change how people even look at that street. That's a really cool thing. That's a cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And then even finding people who want to be a part of the team, whether, contractors, partners, what type of person are they? What are their goals? How can we support them? How are they going to support us? We've had some mediocre contractors, I would say. They got the job done, okay. And then we found some amazing contractors through those mediocre ones. And just building those relationships and being able to support a small business and, whatever they have going on, like just the trickle down effect some of these investments can provide and all of the work that we've been putting into it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I keep asking the questions. Do you have anything?
No, you're good.
Okay, good. So that kind of also plays into the message that Simon's trying to get across in Start With Why, is that you have to find a way to communicate what your why is. And I mean, I kind of feel like your why is also very synonymous to your values, but how your values. So do you feel like maybe the reason you've been able to find better contractors is maybe you've really defined that why in your values, and kind of how to communicate that to them and get them excited in what you're doing and changing these communities? Do you think that's played a factor? Because especially the contract you have in Nebraska, I think you really like that person, right?
Yeah, I think we're getting there.
Okay.
I think, we started some mindset work probably 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And, some of the exercises were about defining values and beliefs, and just not accustomed to thinking that way.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of values and beliefs to have.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as you go through certain situations and excursions and, scenarios with others, whether it's in investing or in our relationship or at work or with the kids, I feel like our values and beliefs have been refined over the last, couple years, as we kind of, this is what a value is. Oh, this is what my belief is.
Right.
Oh, this is what it actually looks like. Ooh, this one didn't feel good in this situation. So being able to just identify and be aware of that, I feel like we've had some maturity in that aspect, which now has provided more clarity when approaching, contractors or partners or, people we work with, lenders, CPAs, whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Why did you guys choose to go into real estate as kind of your main asset class? Is it mainly because Bree was already in real estate, or?
Yeah. Yep, pretty much.
Well, that's an
that
easy
was,
one.
it was,
Proof of concept.
Yeah. I had a colleague that was really into real estate, and I was still doing index funds, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do that much like into it. And then when Bree approached us and was like, hey, do you want to get involved? It's like, yep, sure do. And so it kind of, she's the one that created this monster. I'll give her that for
awesome.
sure.
Shout out to Bree. Well, and I mean, you guys have your whole family involved in it now too, because your parents are involved in it as well, right?
Yep.
They are. They're investors with you, at least.
Yep, they are.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that, again, just getting people to kind of buy in on the why and how that can help everyone is great. So, has there ever been a time where you've gotten into a deal or maybe worked with a contractor that you were like, oh, this person or this deal really doesn't align with my why or my values? And if so, what do you do about that? Has that happened to you yet?
I mean, I don't know so much of like the deal itself hasn't aligned. So we haven't had that with the deal. And then anything along with people we've worked with, I think that's because communication is a constant growing skill. And so when you look back and you reflect on any situation that has gone not the way you had planned, you really have to reflect on, did I communicate and did I make sure they knew my expectations, or was this a learning point for me on this is where the next time I need to be better at communicating, and I need to make sure everything along the path is so everybody is on the same page.
Yeah, agreed. Do you have anything to add to that, Bostyn?
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Because we can't control others, right? Like stay out of their head, out of their models, if you will.
Yeah.
So all we can do is make ourselves better.
Yeah. Because as you were talking, it just kind of reminds me, Lindsay, of the last contractor we had at our property at Cheyenne. And I mean, I think after having that contractor, we've really kind of defined what we look for in a contractor. But the main thing is just the quality of work. There's a lot of investors out there that maybe don't care as much as we do. But as you guys were saying, we really care about giving a quality product. And so if we have a contractor who isn't going to produce the quality that we expect, then that is definitely not a contractor that aligns with our why.
Yeah. And, when we talked last podcast about one of the hardest things is to reflect and be honest with yourself about kind of what you're doing. And, to tie to what Logan said, like, our addition at our house, that contractor, I would find like the little bottles of alcohol on the job. And like never occurred to me that I had to tell my contractor that I would appreciate if he didn't drink while he was working on my home. And, it's some things that you run into, and I think at a core, a lot of these people are decent people, but, I think they would be prime candidates for having no why. It's literally just get up, go try to get some aspect of work done. And it reflects in just their day-to-day interactions, their quality of work. And it became extremely frustrating for us. I ended up having to finish basically every job. We've gotten a good core group of guys now, but even on the GC side, like on the main contractor side, we still don't have someone, and we're very gun shy about it, frankly.
Yeah, that's hard. And I guess a pointer of something that kind of has helped me, because I have a limited construction background. I have a very small one.
For everyone, Logan is an incredible woodworker. Yes, like legitimately incredible.
Yep. We'll
so
link to your guys'
if you don't have a construction background, and the company has even said this, so I'm not saying anything they haven't said themselves. Find Home Building is a fantastic resource, because if they titled it people who work construction that have pride in their work, no one would buy it. Yeah. So it's titled Find Home Building, but like they actually have articles of like, hey, if your framing is done properly, this is what it should look like. And it has drawings, and they do the same with insulation. And so if you're doing a full rehab and you're trying to check your contractor's work, that's a good resource to be able to
this is a website.
They have a magazine and website. Okay. So yeah, so Find Home Building. It's a pretty good resource if you want to try and learn to have an eye for what looks right versus what shouldn't.
Okay, great. Along those same lines, how have you guys, because I know you still use kind of the same property manager in Pennsylvania, right? I mean, you guys have built a really amazing team, which can be hard, especially for not being local. So kind of how have you been able to build that team and build that trust of knowing that things are getting done back there?
Yeah, specifically for the Pennsylvania market, the team we use out there, Bree had met when she first started getting investing, and the guy who started that company, he has a investor mindset. He's a hustler. He works, he's very creative with solutions, and also just knows the industry really well and knows the area really well. So he spun off and created his own property management company. There's a realtor in-house, and then they've got a construction company as well. So all of that is in-house. And while, we trust them and they do a great job, they get busy. So we've got to also check in and say, hey, how's this property going? Like, this one's taking a little longer, or, hey, we're not seeing these rents come in. What's going on? So just constant communication, but also like clarity and what does this mean? So we hold weekly meetings with them. We send out the agenda the night before, maybe the morning of, and we just run through it. And the culture there, if you will, is just open communication, transparency, and what's going on. Sometimes we dig up some stuff that we're like, oh crap, that's not really what we were thinking we were going to hear today,
right?
Or really good news. So just to keep it transparent, keep it open, keep those lines of communication going. And then for Nebraska, we're really working on establishing those patterns. And, we had to switch property management companies out there. So again, just starting that process out, and, trying to lay down some foundation of like, this is how we like to communicate. Cause, we love to communicate with others, probably over the top compared to other people. That's what works for us. So if people need to set boundaries, like, hey, I don't mind that you reach out to me, this is my value time, then we can totally, that's reasonable. Just having those conversations though is, main point there.
Yeah. So a core value is definitely communication with you guys, which
absolutely
it needs to be when you're not physically present in the same state as your properties. So
yep.
Yeah, that's great. How do you guys, this is the burning question I have. How do you guys do it all? Like, how do you both work a W-2 job and find time to have the portfolio that you have? And I know, Bostyn, you're looking at offloading some of this, but you also do all of the bookkeeping for all of the properties and you hold these weekly meetings. How do you guys manage your time?
Lots of practice.
Do you use any like external assistance, as far as like any software or anything to track your to-dos and give assignments and things?
Yeah. We've tried a couple different type of like task management software, but it's only as good as the people that use them. So if it's not something that, all partners, whether it's Logan and I, or if it's Bree, Logan and I, or, even when we were in the rehab kind of stages of our deal together, then it doesn't really work, right? People, processes, and the software, the tools that allow all of those things to work together. And real quick, it's not just the portfolio, and it's like not just the fact we have W-2s and kids. It's also like Logan and us, like our relationship is very important because we realize that like one of a kind type of relationship here. And so to make sure that we value time for that and then also for ourselves, whether that's through coaching or whatever that looks like, right? Google Calendar has been amazing. Different colors represent different things. And sometimes, you pull it up and it looks a little hectic, but we have chosen, based on our why, to have the life that we want to choose to have, to dedicate time now in order to achieve that. So we block out our weekends, and we plan things with people that we want to plan things with, and spend time how we want to spend it, and then how we need to spend it.
Yeah, I'd say to add to it, we're just very intentional with our time. And that doesn't mean that we're not trying to do multiple things, but I heard this where multitasking is a thing, right? You can eat and talk at the same time, but multi-focusing is not a thing. Like, you can't be dialed in and focused on two things at the same time. So for instance, if we're playing board games with the kids, my phone's on airplane mode, it's out of the way. We are 100% playing games with the kids.
I love that.
However, if the kids want to watch a movie, well, we'll have the movie on. It's a kid movie, but we're actually focused and dialed in on our laptops at that point. So it's just knowing if there's multiple things going on, which one thing are you focused on and which one thing are you working on? Because every time I've failed at something, it's because I was trying to focus on two different things, and which then they both falter.
Then you're overwhelmed.
So it's just knowing what to be focused on and when.
Do you guys actually time block? Like, do you look at your schedule and you're like, okay, Tuesdays from 6 to 8, we're doing this, we're doing that. Is that how you plan?
Yeah, and we'll keep the times like 6 to 8 or 6 to 7 fluid, if you will, just because, 6:30, whatever. But from when the kids are like in bed to the next hour, okay, I need to work on these tasks. You need, like, what do you have going on? Okay, like, is there anything that we need to do together? Can we just, what does this look like? And just knock them out. So that's pretty much every night. And then the weekends, like last weekend, Logan was super helpful. I had a lot of computer stuff just to get done with it being, kind of tax season. And he took the kids to the pool so I could just have like an hour and a half by myself. And it's just amazing how much you can get done when it's truly just focused time.
Yes.
And I don't have mom guilt that the kids are like, mom, pay attention to me. It's like, I really need to get this done. So just being able to have those conversations too, where it's like, I need time. Can you please help me? Or Logan can say like, I need some time to get this done. Can you please help me? It's like, yep, I'll get the kids out of your space. That way you can focus.
Yeah. Something I think I want our listeners really to take away from this, because it came out of when Lindsay was a guest, it came out then too, is like, sometimes if you truly want that financial freedom path, you have to just grind and sacrifice for a while. But what I want to point out is that you guys are intentional. That's the key word that you're using here. And you can still do all these things and have the quality time with each other and your children, but get all of it done working towards this. I mean, maybe you're staying up later than you want to and getting less sleep than you want to, but you truly are able to, because of your why and knowing what you want in the future, you're able to prioritize all of those tasks and get it all done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and also like real estate's not quick, right? Like it takes a while, like a couple years. It definitely can. So when we first started, I know how I felt was, we're doing all this work. Like, where's the cash flow? Where's all this money coming in that all these podcasts are talking about? And, it slowly does, but it takes time. So, you're grinding, you're working, you're sacrificing, doing things with others, or whatever kind of FOMO you have about what you're missing out on, to one day get, the cash flow coming in, the money that can supplement whatever, we choose to use it for. But that's a very slow burn to get there versus all of the insane work it takes to get there.
Well, something that is not easy, and it is definitely a learned skill, is how to say no. Like, no, we can't. No, we have other things to do. While still maintaining friendships, maintaining relationships, and just hoping that they understand. So, because you have to learn how to say no in order to do time management.
Yep, for sure. And something else we've talked about is maybe those people that don't understand, or maybe not the people that you necessarily need in your life, or the ones you need to prioritize. So,
yeah, I have a question for you guys. So as you have defined your values and beliefs and your why, how has that changed your social kind of setting, your network, your take on how you spend your time?
We only hang out with people that go to bed at 8 p.m. That is, if you ask us to hang out past that, you're probably getting a no.
Easy.
I think there's a couple things within that. Last year we were pushing burnout, saying yes to a lot, just to say yes on top of working 90, 100-hour weeks. And, this year, I think that we're a lot more, purposeful and as you'd say, in everything that we do. Our interactions with each other are even just better because we're more present in it. But within that, and just kind of being a little bit calmer, the people that are in our circle have gotten there because we just truly value them. And over the past couple of years, it's kind of cultivated into a lot of people that share our values, just good people. So it makes it a little easier to want to hang out with them. But also, heck, we'll use you guys as an example because you guys are good friends of ours. If at any time we ask you to hang out, or you asked us to hang out, and we're simply say, I'm tired, like I don't have it in me tonight, like let's do it another time. A lot of times there's like a follow-up, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking, like our dinner with Byron, we both want to do that. It's just not working right now to force, but in a couple of weeks, are we going to do it? Sure. So both just respecting each other, what they're doing, I think makes it a lot easier.
I'm an introvert, so I have no issues saying no because I don't want to hang out with people that
I drink at home. That's what I do.
Energy, no. But no, I completely agree with him. I think it's just been being intentional with who you want to spend time with. But our why is freedom of time. So we are working to get more freedom of time where we can spend the quality get-togethers that we want to with friends. So it kind of goes hand in hand, I think.
And you can fit stuff that fits your life. I find myself getting coffee with a lot of people. We do that mid-morning coffee, or, when I'm not hurt, like I'm down training at Thor, so I'm able to see Logan. So there's different interactions where you find yourself just hanging out with some of your friends regardless. But I can get the same value time with just a little bit of a schedule shift, where I currently have a life that I have more time so I can work around other people. I'm like, hey, I know you have a kid, like your busy nights aren't great. Like, what are you doing for lunch? Just make some of that stuff work.
Yeah, I would say that's a good point too, because as you surround yourself with other people that have your same goals, you're going to have the same interests. So like Logan and Lindsay, you guys can work out together. Or Logan, you can coach him or, beat him down, whatever you guys do at Thor. I don't know. But even when we've done some of our remodels, Logan, you've come and helped with some of that. You've made our shelves. Like, it just seems that the paths intercross as you're working towards your goals, because you guys are all, you surround yourself with people that have the same goals. So.
Yeah, without even thinking about it, we all share the same goals and values. We also happen to share real estate, but just overall mindset stuff, the amount of times that we end up just being with each other is, effortless.
Mm-hmm. So what is next for you guys? Have you defined some goals of what this year or even the next few years will bring?
Yeah, I think real estate wise, for this year, stabilize what we have, wrap up the projects, get them rented, start building up that little cash flow and buffer, if you will. And then just being a little more strategic with what type of acquisitions we look at getting. We've definitely are more interested in anything above 5 units and up, just because the appraisal process is more favoring towards those. Just math at that point. So focusing, more strategic kind of acquisition on that front, and personal goals. Continue to network, continue to get coaching, or just maybe develop some type of more like personal hobbies too. Some time.
Golf.
Yeah, golf and piano.
Yeah, love it.
So yeah.
Yeah, I would say the same is to figure out, exactly what Bostyn said on real estate, right? We've got to make some shifts and some pivots due to economy, due to, interest rates going up. Nothing crazy, right? I mean, it's still like it's basic math, right? Either the numbers work or they don't. So you're either in or you're out. And then just stabilizing some of the stuff we have, making sure we're keeping our eyes open and being ready for any opportunities that come up. So I think that's another key one. I'm actually a part of a mastermind, so GoBundance, and so we actually fill out like this entire sheet full of all of our different goals for the year, and then we actually break them down by quarter. So how are we going to get to the goals? And it's all broken down each quarter. I'm a huge believer of making sure you surround yourself with people who have, like we talked about, similar goals or even are at where you're at, right? I mean, if you want to be a strong person, hang around strong people, you'll get there, right? Same thing. If we want to be, wealthy someday, then I'm going to try and hang out with wealthy individuals. So that's been great.
I love it. So basically, it's amazing. Maybe you guys don't even realize that you're saying it, but everything you've told me is exactly what you said your why is. So you said that you wanted your why to be basically you guys are kind of in control of your ship and making your own decisions. And so what you're telling me is that through your experience, you find that, these properties that are 5 or more are the ones that are the easiest for you to take down. They maybe have the most value, et cetera. So you're steering the ship the same with your personal goals as well. So kudos on you guys.
Thanks.
So I think that about wraps it up, unless anyone else has anything else they want to say. Okay. I really appreciate you guys being on the podcast. It's meant a lot to me. And like I said, I'm sure we're going to have you back, and I'll share some information on how people can get a hold of you. Maybe if you guys are willing to share some additional information about kind of how you've built your success.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
See you guys.